الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا وقل الحق من ربكم فمن شاء فليؤمن ومن شاء فليكفر. My name is Ahmed. I'm an international student from Syria. I'm a third year at Amherst College. Over the last 3 years, I have been involved with the Muslim Students Association MSA, and this past semester, I have served as a vice president. And I'm also involved in the local Muslim community in Amherst and the mosque, where we hold weekly events and where we engage with the Muslim community. As Muslim college students, we have to balance responsibilities in college with our religious responsibilities. So in Islam, we have to pray 5 times a day with the first prayer starting before sunrise, and we are obligated to do these prayers and make up any prayers that we miss sometimes. المهل يشوي الوجوه بئس الشراب وساءت مرتفقا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So learning the Quran has two main components. The first one is memorizing the Quran, where we memorize the Quranic chapters by heart and we recite them to a teacher. And the second component is mastering the recitation of the Quran, which is called tajwīd. These are certain rules that Arabic language follow that we have to learn to perfect the recitation of the Quran. My learning journey started at elementary school, where it's typical for Muslim families to send their kids during the summer to a Quran school. And in elementary school as well as middle school, I just memorized some chapters of the Quran as well as I learned the basic rules of tajwīd. But my actual focus started in high school. In my first year of high school, I finished the memorization of the Quran. And after that, I started reciting one-on-one to a teacher where I go for several hours. I recite to him by heart and he teaches me all the rules in tajwīd and assesses my recitation based on them. After that, after I finished reciting on that teacher, COVID started, and my dad also has a certificate in Quran, and my dad was at home, so I also decided to recite on him. And so during COVID, I recited on my dad for around a year. So this is the certificate I have from my first teacher. It starts with praising Allah, and then it mentions a verse that means it's said in the voice of Allah, we have revealed the Quran and we will preserve it. And then it clarifies the specific riwayah I have read the Quran in. The Quran has 10 major qirā'a to read it, and each qirā'a has two major riwayahs. So this mentions the riwayah I have read the Quran in, and this mentions the qirā'a that this riwayah belongs to. And then the certificate itself is written in the form of a letter written in the voice of my teacher. So he starts writing the letter by praising God here in this paragraph, and then he clarifies the importance of the blessing of the Quran and the blessing of learning how to recite it here. And then he starts listing the whole chain from him to Allah to the end. So here he started and he says that I have been blessed to be one of those who memorized the Quran on my, and then he mentions here his the name of his first teacher, and then he goes on to say that this teacher read on that teacher, and so on till we reach the specific group of companions related to this chain who taught it to the first person in that chain, and then it goes on from this group of companions to our Prophet, peace be upon him, and then here it says that our Prophet, peace be upon him, received the Quran from the angel Gabriel, who transmitted the Quran from our God, Allah. Mastering the recitation of the Quran and passing it on to others fulfills an important part of my role as a Muslim. One of the most important aspects of Islam is preserving knowledge across generations, so it's protected from distortion, and that future generations can enjoy the same access to knowledge that earlier generations had. After coming to Amherst and meeting Muslim students from very various backgrounds, from the US, from South Asia, from the Middle East, from Africa, I learned that Islam unites us. Although we might come from different backgrounds, different experiences before college, we all pray the same prayer, we all recite the same Quran, and we all have the same instructions. So I really learned the power of my religion in uniting people from different nations. And I really appreciate that about my religion, which is something I was not aware of before coming here to Amherst.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
This semester, I started a new initiative at our local mosque where we hold a weekly Quran circle every Saturday night. This circle just gathers people from the community, students from UMass Amherst mostly, and from Amherst College as well, where we sit and learn a rule of tajwīd as well as practice recitation and give feedback. We read in Hafs. Yeah. I just leave it. So just to explain why there's difference. Yeah. So in the Quran there's 10 major ways that Arabic tribes read it when it was revealed on the Prophet ﷺ. And these 10 ways were all approved by the Prophet ﷺ, and he read with all of them. So because Arabic grammar is complicated, and so sometimes these harakats we see on the letters depend on the role of the word in the sentence. So here the word tanzila can play two roles. One of them can take a fatha at the end, tanzila, and one of them can take a dhamma, tanzilu. And both of them are grammatically correct, and both of them are valid. So some tribes read it tanzila, and some of them read it tanzilu. And both are correct, but you shouldn't choose on your own. You should always follow the reading you read from, because that's how exactly the Prophet ﷺ read it. You shouldn't take some from this qirā'a, some from this, and mix them up. No, this whole qirā'a, the way it is, it was approved by the Prophet ﷺ, and he read with it, so we stay with it. But you might find some differences, because grammar can take different forms, and all of them are correct. That's why.
Is this only when there's a hamza right after the mad?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we here have two types of mad when we have a hamza. The first one is called mad munfasal, is when the letter of mad and the hamza are in two separate words, like here, ma unzira. But if they are in the same word, it's called mad muttasal. Muttasal means connected. And we see it in the next word, aba'uhum. And when you have that, you have to do four. You don't have the choice of doing two. And it's called mad wajib, obligatory mad. Mad munfasal, mad jaiz, optional or possible. I started this initiative because I saw the need with that. I myself learned the Quran for several years, and when I came here there was nothing similar to this in our local mosque. So I wanted to use the knowledge I have acquired in high school and middle school to teach the local community who might not have access to learn how to recite the Quran. And this circle, I think, is a first step in me fulfilling the role of passing on the Quranic knowledge to next generations. I think it's a great start for me to gain experience in teaching the Quran, because that's one of my goals in the future, later in my life.
يراه ما نبل قيبي فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. Yeah, so if you will stop on Kareem, you say just Kareem. Kareem. Yeah. This tanween you see under the noon is if you want to connect. Like if you want to connect the two verses together, you say Kareemin inna. But if you stop, just Kareem. Okay. So here, Sawa'un alayhim in verse 10, the first two words, we have tanween followed by a ayn. And we did not do any change to the tanween. We just said it the way it is. Does anyone remember what this hukm is called?
إذا.
Yes, exactly.
إظهار.
إظهار.
Yes. سواء عليهم.
So the first hope I have is for the Muslim community to have a resource to learn the Quran. And I hope that I can do a good job in teaching people from different backgrounds how to recite the Quran, because many people who live here in our Muslim community do not speak Arabic, which is a big challenge for me because I have always been learning the Quran in an Arabic speaking environment. So that's one skill I have to acquire through time. My hope is that people find that learning the Quran is not an intimidating thing, and it's actually a very fruitful and enjoyable process, but at the same time, it fulfills a critical role of our role as Muslims.